Remember that your final exam is lifted questions mostly from your 4 unit exams. So we'll take a look at it. There were actually there were 68 possible, but what you'll do at the top, you see like 3 numbers. The first number is multiple choice. I'll put MC. The second number is vocabulary. So all the tests are going to have this format. And the last one, I'll put SA for short answer. So they were always going to be worth 1 point, 2 points each for the vocab. You're fine. And 3 points each for the short answer. So all of those, I use my calculator because I don't trust myself. Is that Dana? Are you sure? Oh, your hair looks nice. And so it all should add up to a number. And what I did was divide that number actually by 65. So I spotted you 3 points, okay? So whichever 3 you didn't like. So we'll go ahead and just quickly kind of go through it. Multiple choice, which is not a variable gas. The best answer there is A, because nitrogen actually is a permanent gas. Question 2, one of the things that the ocean currents do is C, transfer heat from the equator towards the poles. Question 3, the tilt of the Earth's axis of rotation is 23.5 degrees and constant, so B is the best answer for 3. Number 4, actually you had this nice little graph. For number 4, kind of the ongoing year-to-year trend is due to, in carbon dioxide, is due to B, the use of fossil fuels. Question 5, the sun's angle is, low sun angles result in B, energy is spread over a larger area, that's beam spreading, number 5. Number 6, difference between weather and climate, they both have to do with the atmosphere, but C, the period, time involved is the best answer there. Lag of maximum, they're talking about the hot time of the day being after noon. Noon is when you have the most intense rays, but there's a lag for the Earth to get heat up and re-radiate it. So it's more like 2 or 3 p.m. So C is the best answer for that. 8, our oxygen comes from B, photosynthesis, plants doing their thing. Question 9, in the scientific method of theory, the best answer there is D, that it's a hypothesis that's been tested and generally accepted to be true by the scientific community. Question 10, the troposphere is thickest, B over the equator. If clouds are present, how does that affect your range? The best answer there is B, that your range will be smaller. 12, which are not one of the spheres we talked about. We talked about the hydrosphere, but B, aquasphere, is not a sphere that we talked about. Question 13, the reason Earth has seasons is because its axis of rotation is tilted. A is the best answer for that one. Question 14, I was after the range, not the average. So given a high of 30 and a low of 21, the range would be, you do subtraction, would be 9 degrees. So C is the best answer for 14. Question 15, the spring equinox in the northern hemisphere is on or about March 21st. Question 16, and remember we talked about there's more water in the southern hemisphere, so that has a result of basically making the annual temperature range less. So E is the best answer there. Question 17, the Earth gets energy from the sun by A, radiation. Question 18, which are correct. The only thing that's correct there is A, that water has a high specific heat. Question 19, which of these describe the equinox? The best answer is B, that days and nights are equal length at all latitudes. Question 20, which have a net effect of making summer warmer? So the best answer there is A, Iowa. No. The middle of a landmass, your summers are going to be hotter because you don't have the moderating effect of the oceans. Question 21, on average, and we talked about that actually, this is the environmental lapse rate basically. And on average, how does the atmosphere cool as you go up in the troposphere? 6.5 degrees for every kilometer you rise. Question 22, wavelengths emitted by the Earth compared to the sun. Remember, the Earth is squatty and it's longer wavelengths, and the sun is more intense and it's at shorter wavelengths. So A is the best answer there. Question 23, which is the most abundant gas in the atmosphere now anyway? The answer there is E, nitrogen. Question 24, If you have a current that's moving towards the poles, it must be carrying warm water from the equator, so B is the best answer there. Energy associated with motion is B, kinetic energy. Good ozone is located in the A stratosphere. Question 27, on the Kelvin scale, it's most preferred in science because the best answer there is A, that 0 Kelvin or absolute Kelvin actually has some scientific meaning of no motion. Question 28, so C was the best answer for 27. Question 28, objects with higher temperatures C will emit shortwave radiation as compared to cooler objects. Question 29, we use the term temperature gradient to describe how temperature changes over distance. Question 30, atmospheric component that protects us from incoming UV radiation, that's D, ozone. Question 31, absorption of long-wave radiation by certain gases give us the A, greenhouse effect. Question 32, say you want to know what the temperature is doing in the troposphere, you would C, send up a weather balloon with a radio sound. And then vocabulary with 2 points apiece. And so for these and for the last ones, it's possible to get partial credit. So I was after isotherms as contour lines drawn on a map to connect locations with the same temperature. Hypothesis is sometimes in the scientific method called the best guess. It kind of is of a precursor to a theory. Question 35, I was after specific heat as the amount of energy needed to raise 1 gram of material up 1 degree Celsius. Question 36, the sun is in the center, or is not in the center of Earth's orbit. We say that the Earth is in its orbit at perihelion when it's closest to the sun. Question 37, I was after circumillumination, basically kind of marking the daytime and the nighttime side of the Earth. Question 38, I was after biosphere, is the sphere that contains all life. 39, permanent gases are those gases that are relatively constant and uniform, and nitrogen is an example of a permanent gas. Question 40, I was after wind chill temperature, is the feels like temperature that includes the wind. Question 41, I was after latent heat, or latent heat energy is energy required to change its phase, like from water to go from an ice to a liquid or liquid to a vapor. Also, it's energy that's released when water goes from a vapor to a liquid and a liquid to a solid. So in this last part, which actually my finger got a little, and I didn't get part, they are not connected, so it's a separate document, but it's all under doc sharing. So for 42, to get full credit, you needed to list the layers of the atmosphere in order and say at least something about them. So you can see what I said about them. And actually, I put the lowest one down here, troposphere, stratosphere, mesosphere, thermosphere. But like if I do this if I lift this question, put on the final, if you put them the other way, that's fine too, because you're listing them in order. So for question 43, I kind of just generally mapped out what I think of as the scientific method. You observe something, you come up with a hypothesis, how it's working, you come up with some sort of experimentation to test your hypothesis, you get more observations, you kind of let that simmer for a while, and then eventually, if everything looks good, you can elevate your hypothesis to a theory. The next one, the different forms of electromagnetic radiation, gamma rays, X-rays, ultraviolet, visible, infrared, microwaves, and radio waves. And on the answer key, I broke out visible. Visible put from short wavelength or high energy to long wavelength or low energy. Actually, it's Roy G. Biv backwards because the red bumps up against infrared and the violet bumps up against ultraviolet. A very common mistake this semester was if you were going to leave one of the 7 out, you left out visible. So I was kind of like, then what I found myself is giving people full credit because I'm like, if you can get everything but visible. So the next one, this was actually, number 45, was the pan that's heating over an open fire sort of thing. So I wanted you to talk about those 3 ways of transferring energy and give an example. So radiation, convection, and conduction. So 36, I've kind of listed here 1 through 5. What I was after, those are the factors that influence what your kind of overall temperature of a location is going to be. And you need to pick one of these and to give an example. And then the last one, we talked about how water is stubborn to heat up and cool down. And so basically, I kind of tried to give the scenario, if you have equal masses of water and sandy soil, you zap them with equal amounts of energy, what's going to happen? And so if you think of the water being stubborn, it's not going to heat up as much as the sandy soil. So sandy soil is going to heat up faster and more. So that's kind of what I was after. So when I grade your tests, I always put a little number down here, and that should be the number you got right on that page for the vocab and the short answer. Anyway, and then I add them up, and there she goes.